定以为啊，真的。
Dalam 200 meter, belok kanan.
It's so ridiculous. But people do request it.
Belok kanan.
And me calling it ridiculous, I'm gonna get a lot of paid for it. But I can handle it. But I do like the theory.
Dalam 200 meter.
On YouTube, you're not gonna find much flat Earth stuff. That is suppressed. But if you go land on Rumble and search flat Earth,
Why do you think they suppress it?
yeah, there's some stuff we'd have to talk about off air. But there are subjects that YouTube will just not allow you to discuss. So I can't say specifically because I made a promise to someone to not tell. But if you look at a couple of my demonetized videos, you'll see that they're kind of softball. Like, why is this demonetized? Go look at those. Those are no topics that I didn't know until it was too late. I was like, why is this demonetized? Like can't talk about that. Like, everything's true in here. I debunk most of it. Can't even talk about it at all, true or not. So flat Earth, they don't like that one. But if you go on Rumble and spend like 2, 3, 4 hours just watching those videos, you walk away like, oh, it could be.
There's some compelling stuff.
Good stuff.
There are some compelling arguments.
Yeah.
I will say.
Antarctica Wall.
That.
Got a point.
Damn. What do you think? So back to Nikola Tesla. What do you think about the pyramids?
Oh,
What were they?
So, gun to my head, I think they were used to generate energy. I think there's a lot of evidence for it. You know, for people interested in it, they can look into Christopher Dunn's work. He's done the research, definitive research on the pyramid power plant theory. Tesla was fascinated by the pyramids, not so much for energy, but for how they were constructed, how they're constructed to true north and all of that. He was fascinated by the engineering of it. But his free energy device, a lot of that engineering can be seen in the pyramid. So Wardenclyffe Tower was his facility on Long Island, which is just a big tower. It looks like a water tower, but it's built over an aquifer. And what Tesla was trying to do was use the water creates this deep resonant sound that resonates with the Earth's natural frequency. Everything has a resonant frequency. Whether the Earth, this chair, our bodies, everything does. And if you can come into harmony with that frequency, it will expand, it will amplify. And there's been research that certain wavelengths broadcast at the Great Pyramid will amplify that electromagnetic energy. It's around 200 meters, I think. So Tesla is fascinated with that engineering. But the pyramid power plant theory is a lot like Tesla's technology. The Giza Plateau, there is an aquifer under there. There's a lot of water under there. And that water would create this resonant frequency. And they found copper rods that go down there that would help bring up some of the electricity, however it worked. And then in the pyramid, at the various chambers, there's residue of certain chemicals that, when combined, create a lot of hydrogen, like a violent reaction of hydrogen. So coming down from the Queen's chamber, and then I forget the other chamber, but they're built in a way so they come down. You use gravity, and you just pour these chemicals down, creates this hydrogen reaction, which we know creates. There's residue of these chemicals there. This is not a conspiracy theory. The hydrogen expands, comes up through the gallery, which is this big hallway that goes up to the King's Chamber. And they discovered that in the Grand Gallery there used to be these wooden posts or some kind of wooden, sort of flat wooden things. And those would create sound. It's called a Helmholtz resonator. Like when you blow across a bottle, it goes boom. That air is a Helmholtz resonator. So this hydrogen would come up through the chamber. These things would resonate with sound, the F-sharp chord specifically, and that would cause it to build up more and more and more. The hydrogen expands, This chamber is built out of rose granite, which is an unusual type of granite because it's densely made of quartz. And when you compress quartz, it creates electricity. It's called piezoelectricity. And if you have a lot of quartz, you can create a lot of electricity. There's been experiments done where if it's a mountain of quartz, it creates something like 10 million volts. Like, it creates a lot of power. So you've got this, you've got the hydrogen expanding, creating this electricity. It's ionizing the air, amplifying it more. You've got the sound coming through, amplifying it more. And then you've got this hole leading into the King's chamber that's 4.8 inches by 8.4 inches, which is the perfect size for a hydrogen atoms microwave to just fit through as a waveguide. Comes up into the King's chamber, and the King's chamber has these pillars, and on top of it, a bunch of stones that are stacked. Everything's really smooth, except the top is really rough. And forever, they thought that they called this the relieving stones, that these would relieve the pressure of the pyramids. But they're not connected to anything, so there's no pressure there. But what they found is that this creates music, creates this chord. And what the theory is it's rough on top because they would chip away at it and tune it until it was just about right. And that's why it's smooth on the bottom and rough on the top. And if you had, so you've got all this energy, so how do we get it out? Well, when the pyramids were new or, intact, the interior is made out of a certain type of limestone that the electricity can move around it. The exterior is made out of a different kind of limestone called Tura limestone, which is quarried from far, far away and brought in.
Way down the Nile, right?
Way down, hundreds of miles away. You'll hear Zayawas talk about the limestone on the pyramid, but he never talks about the Tura limestone or the rose granite. So there's all these different, why not just build the whole thing out of the same rocks that are right here? Bring the Tura limestone to Giza is like bringing the 100-ton blocks up the coast of Florida. It's like that far. But it's a special type of limestone that's very low in magnesium. It's a great insulator. So you've got this electricity, and then you've got sort of this conductor, and then you've got another insulator. And that's called the dielectric, and that creates even more power. And if you had a gold capstone on top, which is a great conductor, you can force that energy up through the capstone, up into the ionosphere. And that's what Nikola Tesla was trying to do. It's the same technology. Where I get stuck is, I love all of it, and I buy it. But we don't see any evidence of what they did with the power. So the people who are really into it say, well, the obelisks at one time also had metal capstones, so they would be receivers. Okay, but still, what did they do with it? There's no computers, there's no light bulbs. The ancient Egyptians didn't work with glass, so what did they do with it? My guess is the Egyptians didn't build any of this. Is the reason that we don't see any evidence of what the Egyptians did with power is because they didn't use it for power. I think the Egyptians just found it. And they said, wow, this is crazy. This gods must have made this, and it just became sort of this, religious type of structure. It's supposed to be the tomb for Khufu, but no mummy's ever been found in a pyramid. Never found any of that. Now,
Wow.
Egyptologists will say, well, they were robbed. The mummies were there, but they were taken out. All right, well, there's no evidence of any of that, but there is evidence of zinc chloride at one side and hydrochloric acid on another side and sulfuric acid here, and there's an inch of salt that would up and down this chamber that would be the result of a chemical reaction. There's evidence of an explosion at some point. On all this stuff you can look up. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just saying these things are true, and I'm just connecting the dots for my entertainment. But you can go look at them and make up your own mind.
Damn. So you think they found them?
I think they found them. I think they were there for a long time.
So what do you think that was? Previous civilizations?
Previous
aliens?
civilizations. I'm not an alien guy.
You're not an alien guy?
Not really, because I can't wrap my mind around crossing the distances of space. They're so big, so far. We can't. Space is so big that the human mind we can't comprehend it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got this comet 3I Atlas just zipping into the solar system now. It's the fastest object we've ever found. It's like 135,000 miles an hour. We've never seen a comet move this fast. It's still going to take 6 months to get through. So if it's that big. So I can't get my mind around aliens, wormholes, folding space. I can't get my mind around it. But something's going on. I've seen videos. Most, I don't believe the whistleblowers. I don't believe anyone from Air Force intelligence. I don't believe any of that. And if you have a book out, I don't believe what you're saying. If you're cleared by the DoD,
I definitely don't.
you definitely don't. If you still have clearance and you're still a contractor and you're still working with DoD, I can't. You're not a whistleblower. You're doing PR. So, with all due respect, I don't believe you guys. Matthew Brown, I think his last name is Brown. He's kind of a compelling whistleblower because he doesn't go over the top. He just says, "I found evidence of something going on in space," and that's really all he says. So as far as the ancient civilizations, I don't go as far as like Graham Hancock might go, or this ancient advanced civilization. I don't want to put words in his mouth because I'm a huge admirer, huge fan. I've made at least 10 videos based around his research. But in geologic time, the surface of the Earth just turns itself inside and out every few million years. So the Earth we're standing on now just wasn't here 10 million years ago. There's only a couple of places on the planet that still have exposed rock that's 4 billion years old. I think Jack Hill in Australia, and then somewhere in Canada, like West Canada. Everything else is pretty new. So if there was a civilization, it's very easy for it just to get folded into just the tectonic activity of the Earth. And perhaps the pyramids survived that. When we see the pictures of the discovery of the Sphinx, it was buried. They didn't just walk up and see a Sphinx there. They just saw like the top of a head. They're like, "What's this?" And they dug all that out. And then on there, we see evidence of high volume, high pressure water flow and water erosion. It's kind of hard to discount that now, which they did for years. It's hard to discount it. When you look at Robert Schoch's work and Randall Carlson's work, to me, it's not debatable. It's right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, also on Easter Island.
Easter Island,
those heads,
the Moai heads. People don't realize those heads have bodies. So you see all these heads sticking up. They have bodies. So first of all, Easter Island is in the middle of nowhere. If you look at it on Google Earth, good luck. You'll never find it. You have to type it in and then pull back and see how in the middle of nowhere this place is. So you've got these statues that are, 80 tons or whatever. So either there's 1,000 of them on the island. So either
there's 1,000.
So either they dug these holes and dropped in a giant statue and then filled it in, or the statues were there and then the Earth came over and filled on top of it. I don't know. There's a lot of mud flood